Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for being here. Before we start, let me ask you to think about something simple. How many different cultures did you interact with this week? Yes? 1, 2, yes? Wow, 5 cultures, yes? Amazing. So you might encounter people from different cultures in meetings while communicating through emails, maybe in WhatsApp messages, in coffee rooms, and sometimes without even realizing it. Now, Saudi Arabia today is one of the most international places in the world. People from different countries, cultures, industries, and ways of thinking work together every single day. That is a huge strength. But it also means one thing: communication is harder than it used to be. Not because people are worse at communicating, but because the stakes are higher and expectations are different. Two people can leave the same meeting with completely different feelings. One thinks that went really well. Another thinks nothing was achieved. Same meeting, same people, very different results and a very different experience. That is what we're talking about today. This matters because communication affects everything. It affects trust, it affects teamwork, it affects how decisions are made. In a global workplace like Saudi Arabia, the ability to communicate is no longer just something nice to have. It is a core professional skill. When communication works, work feels smoother. Problems are solved faster. People feel respected. When communication does not work, small misunderstandings grow. Emails become tense. Meetings feel frustrating. People start making assumptions about each other. And once assumptions appear, trust starts to disappear. Most of these problems are not caused by bad people. They are caused by misaligned expectations. That's good news because expectations can be clarified. Here's the most important message of today. I want you to remember this sentence. When communication fails, assume difference, not bad intention. I'll say it again because it matters. Assume difference, not bad intention. When something feels uncomfortable, unclear, or frustrating, our instinct is to judge. We think they're rude, they're unclear, they don't communicate well. Instead, pause and ask yourself, could this be a difference in expectations? This one habit alone can change the way you work with people. Now, cultural difference is real. That is not something I want to flatten. When I say difference, cultural difference, I'm not saying cultures are the same. They are different. That difference is real, and that shapes how people speak, listen, disagree, and even show respect. Ignoring these differences creates problems. But there is another mistake that is just as harmful. That mistake is reducing people only to their culture. So let me say this clearly. Do not ignore cultural differences and do not turn them into stereotypes. People are shaped by cultures, but they are not controlled by them. Your responsibility is not to memorize cultures. Your responsibility is to notice patterns. Stay curious and respond thoughtfully. This balance matters, especially in a diverse workplace like Saudi Arabia. Most misunderstandings happen for one simple reason. You have the same situation, but different expectations. Let me give you a few examples. In some cultures, being direct is a sign of honesty. You say what you mean, you get to the point. Who can agree with that? Is that true of your culture? Yes? Yes? Okay, I can see that that's a minority here. So we need to clarify, okay? In other cultures, being direct can feel uncomfortable or even disrespectful. Do some of you feel this way? Being too direct can be disrespectful? Yes? Yes? In our culture, I think in some instances of Saudi culture, being too direct can be seen as a sign of disrespect. People expect context, tone, and careful wording. In some cultures, silence means agreement. In others, silence means thinking, hesitation, or discomfort. Neither approach is right or wrong. But when we misread one for the other, misunderstandings are guaranteed. The problem is not the difference. The problem is not checking expectations. Now, how would that look like at work? We see this every day at work. In meetings, some people expect discussion. Some people want ideas. Some people want everyone to speak. Others expect a clear decision. They want direction. They want the meeting to end with action. In emails, some people prefer short, direct messages. Others expect context and politeness. In feedback, some people want honesty immediately. Others want privacy and careful language. All of this is normal. All of this is normal. The problem starts when we assume our way is the only right way. Good communication is not about insisting. Good communication is about adjusting. Now I want to give you one communication rule that can prevent most communication problems. Before you speak, before you send the email, before you give feedback, ask yourself this question. Does this communication need to build trust? Does it need to make a decision? Does it need to solve a problem? This question matters because different goals require different communication styles. Let me walk you through this. If the goal is trust, tone matters more than speed. If the goal is a decision, clarity matters more than comfort. If the goal is problem solving, listening matters as much as speaking. Problems happen when we skip this crucial step. We speak before deciding what communication is supposed to achieve. And when that happens, we often use the wrong style for the situation. So make this a habit. Decide the goal first, and then adjust your communication style. I will walk you through some questions that you can ask yourself. So this is a practical checklist that will help you determine your communication style for your purposes at work. This is not about labels, it's not about stereotypes, it's about making good decisions in real situations. Before any important conversation, run through these 3 questions. First question, does hierarchy matter here? In some situations, titles and roles are very important. How you disagree matters. Where you speak matters. If hierarchy matters, choose your words carefully. Correct privately and show respect openly. If hierarchy matters less, open discussion may be expected and questions may be welcomed. The second question, is directness expected or risky here? In some environments, being direct is appreciated. People want clarity, they want to get to the point. In other environments, directness can feel uncomfortable. People expect context and softer language. If you're not sure, start gently and adjust. The third question, do people want structure or flexibility? Some people want clear plans, clear steps, and clear timelines. Others are comfortable with change. They want direction and not detail. Neither is wrong, and this is something I want to emphasize throughout this talk. Communication styles are supposed to be adjusted according to the context and the purpose of communication. Your job is to match your communication to what people expect. These questions on the screen do not replace observation. Rather, they support it. So before you communicate, observe and look around you. Try to understand people and the setting and environment where communication is expected. Always observe the people in front of you and not just the culture behind them. Okay? So now we're going to be more practical. What should you actually do? Here I have 3 steps you can memorize and implement moving forward from this presentation. The first step is to pause before reacting. Confusion is information, so don't rush to judge. Clarify the situation and the confusion first before you decide to act. The second step is to ask. Ask simple, clarifying questions. Ask things like, is this for discussion or for decision? What do we need by the end of this? Third, adjust your style on purpose. Change your tone if needed, not your values. Now there is a 4th step that I don't mention on the screen because it goes without saying, especially when you're dealing with people from different cultures. Protect dignity. I'll repeat that again. Protect dignity. Correct privately when possible and praise publicly when appropriate. Then check your understanding, repeat agreements, summarize decisions, and never assume clarity. So clarity is something that you seek and you take steps to achieve. These small actions actually prevent most communication problems. Okay, so we spoke about what to do. Now I'm going to take you through what not to do. What should you avoid in communication? The first thing to avoid is assuming bad intentions. So do not assume bad intentions behind certain types of communication. Do not label people or cultures as difficult or complex, because communication depends on simplicity and clarity. Do not flatten culture into stereotypes, because you're not dealing with cultures as a whole, you're dealing with individual people. And do not use the same communication style everywhere. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Good communication adapts. It does not insist. You do not bend people to one communication style. You observe the people around you and use the best style for your goals and purposes. This matters especially here in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is now a global meeting point, and people from many cultures work together on a day-to-day basis. They bring their values, their habits, and communication styles with them. In this environment, communication skills are not optional. They are a professional advantage. Those who communicate well build trust faster, avoid unnecessary conflict, and succeed more easily. Take this with you after this session today. Before any important interaction, remember 3 things. First, decide what communication must achieve. Second, think about what the other person expects. Third, adjust your purpose and your approach, adjust your style and approach on purpose. If you do only this, you will avoid most communication problems. I will end with this. Do not assume, do not rush, and take responsibility for meaning. That is how communication across cultures works. Thank you. Now we're open for questions. Yes? Yes. I'll get closer.
Casual friends, formal friends, are these different cultures?
Yes, that's a very good point to make, that even within specific national cultures, culture signifies other types of groups. For instance, as an assistant professor, I deal with youth culture a lot. So I know that when I speak to them, I have to adjust my communication style to an approach that's more friendly, more approachable, and more open, so that they can not hesitate when they want to know essential information about tasks and assignments, and so on. There's also a distinct difference between genders. So in women's culture, because in King Saud University, most of the colleges we have, you have a women's campus and a men's campus, and the majority of the campuses have specific genders. I notice in women's groups there's more politeness and more relational communication, whereas with male colleagues, it's more direct and to the point because they have things that they need to do. Yes? Does that answer your question, Becca? Thank you so much. Any other questions? Or do we stop? Yes, yes.
In the last slide, you said take responsibility for meaning. What does that mean exactly?
So ask questions. So as I've mentioned, confusion is something that we all need to work to clear away. So if there is any communication that seems confusing to you, then it is your responsibility to seek clarifications, whether that's through asking other colleagues, whether that's through asking them to repeat or summarize at the end of a meeting. So don't be in a passive state when it comes to receiving communication, because you can only use communication if it's understood. Yes, is that clear? Okay, thank you. Yes, other questions? Yes.
Because our culture is really enriched with our religious values, and who we are religiously represents who we are socially in our everyday lives. So the idea of respect and care and making sure that you respect not just the elders but everybody else, this influences our communication style. And I was really catching on to what you were talking about in terms of being direct and how being direct can be disrespectful. So because we are very enmeshed in our religious values and it represents who we are, do you think it's possible for us to shift our communication style to be more direct and have it not be seen as quote-unquote negative or disrespectful?
I think that the more Saudi Arabia becomes a global workplace and emphasizes efficiency and action and decision making, being direct is needed. But at the same time, we have to know who we're working with. So if you have an older colleague who feels like things are moving too fast, then it's the responsibility of the communicator to adjust their style for that person. If the majority prefer that communication style, then that would be adjusted as well. So it really depends on who you're working with and how they expect to be spoken to in a way that they feel is respectful. Yes. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes? Okay. Are you done? Yes. Okay, so in closing, I want to thank the Saudi British Center and Dr. Uthman and Mr. Farhan and everyone else who organized this fantastic event, and also you, the audience. We wouldn't have this if it weren't for you. And feel free to email me or message me through my LinkedIn or email address. Thank you.